everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, AngelaMoniq, and I am here for yet another review of Married at First Sight, Season 19, Episodes 5 to 7. Okay, so before I get started in talking about all the things that happen in episodes 5 to 7, I want to thank you so much for the 10 views that I get on these videos. But you know, I'm lowballing myself. But thank you so much for watching. If you watched, if you have at least clicked on, it's coming in your timeline. Shout out to you. But it can only get better from here. I am really just trying to find out how I want to do these videos and how I want to design the space where I review shows that I like to watch, okay? And I think today is going to be a fun one because I'm going to go couple by couple rather than try to do sequence of events, because that is way too much for your girl. And then, now I got a little microphone. Yes, I'm a singer. I sing at church and stuff like that. And, you know, my microphone is my superpower. So now I have one of them. And I think that is going to kind of give me the zhuzh that needs to be given. So that's what it's going to be. So let's jump into these episodes. Like I said, I'm going to go couple by couple. I got notes here, so I'm going to be looking at those and making sure we hit the points that need to be hit. And speaking of that, I am only going to be gone couple by couple, right? We're going to give a very high level overview. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, and then we out of here because now the next set of episodes are dropped and I'm behind, but I'm going to take my time. I'm going to do it how I feel that it needs to be done. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first couple I'm going to talk about today is going to be Brittany and Will. Now, I must have got tired of watching the episodes because I had like 10 minutes left in episode 4 and I didn't even talk about that in the other reviews that I did, but oh well, that's over. But we're going to still get into it because we just talked about what we want to talk about and move on out of here, okay? So where I realized there was an extra scene is when on the honeymoon, Will's out there on the balcony. She comes in from the girls' pool day. He went to the guys' pool day event, and she comes in and said, you know, we'll talk to the girls and, you know, talking about the communication, you know, issues that they're having without their marriages. And I guess from what Brittany got from it is like, you know, you're Megan and I'm Will, meaning he doesn't share, okay? And she shares. And Will's like, I don't see it that way. And she's like, I don't see it that way either. Like they're at an impasse. Like, you know, he thinks that he asks her questions and she thinks she's the one asking the questions. And, you know, episodes 1 through 4 would be kind of boring because it's like the getting to know you stage, and now we're going to get into the drama of it all. I mean, from what I can remember, she was a little standoffish. She was being very short because of what happened on the honeymoon, as far as they did the do. They got a little hot and heavy. He pulled back because they ain't used no protection, and he felt some way about it. So now this is a continuation of feeling some type of way about it. And Will is like so surprised that, you know, Brittany's like, I ask more questions than you do. And he looks at her and was like, with words? And I'm like, sir, don't be sassy now. Do not be sassy. Like, one thing about Will, I'm not a fan of him at all. Now, Brittany can catch a little smoke too, right? But her smoke is coming from a place of being naive and having a fairy tale in her head. You know, Will, again, to me, and I feel like I've seen this personality somewhere in my lifetime before, dated them, been around this type of person. He thinks he's the smartest person in the room, so he's not going to fuss and argue with you. He is not that type of guy that's going to get hype. That's what I see. He's going to use intelligence and what he thinks he knows and having all of this greater, you know, knowledge base and using facts and figures to talk to you like this and say, yeah, you know, with words. He's going to use his intelligence and things like that to basically tell you off. And that's his way of fighting, right? Making somebody else feel stupid in a passive aggressive way. Like that whole hierarchy of arrogance, I don't like it. It's not cute. It is not cute. So that's how I see Will. Now, Brittany, she's naive. She has this fairy tale in her head of like how it's supposed to be in marriage. And also, you know, she still heard about him pulling back after, you know, the sexuals go, a little awry. Okay. So it's whatever. And she's feeling away and she's trying to course correct, but she doesn't know how. And she's trying her best, but it comes with naivety. And she needs to also, she needs to speak up a little bit. She shouldn't be short with him. Let's get to the things, but she has a certain way. It seems that like she wants him to respond to her. So the conversation doesn't go the way that she wants to, and she gets frustrated. She goes, listen, I'm going to go ahead and take me a shower. But she doesn't take a shower. She goes down to the lobby and she just leaves the room. She goes down and get her a couple chicken tenders, a couple fries, and she's frustrated and she's just like, this guy. Because she's already frustrated, so tensions are already there. He's back at the room in the hammock talking about she want to leave. She's an adult. She needs her space. Her leaving, she wants her space. And honestly, what she really probably wanted when she left the room and he heard the door slam to the outside and not the shower door, she probably wanted him to go after her. Probably so. And it's more frustrating that he didn't, and he is detached. He is emotionless. He is very flat. And I can tell you, if that was me, I'd be frustrated too. Now, yeah, I'm not a fan of. Brittany, not a fan because she needs to just mature and grow a little bit more. That's it. So, when Brittany comes back to the room, she finally comes back. She does apologize for, leaving. She says she's going to take a shower, but she left. And he said, where'd you go? He's like, do you normally do that? Like his tone and the way he talks and stuff, it really irks my soul. And, it's hard to read. And she wants to try to give a read so she knows how to react, and not knowing how to react or what he's thinking, because there is some insecurity there, does make her nervous. So, it's part of who he is. I don't know how the experts picked him. Like, I just don't like his energy at all. He looks like he should be short. Looks like a pretty tall dude, but the dudes I know that look like him are short. So he's giving me short dude energy. So she's upset. I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on this topic of who asks who questions, and I'll make a list of questions. And although, sis, I get your point, don't give him any rope, so don't be too sassy with him as well, okay? Don't be petty. I know it's hard. But they end the night in a hug and seems to be all is well. So in the midst of the honeymoon, they do little excursions. It's looking all good and stuff. They go to a ruin and, they sit and talk a minute and, glad that they're having a good day. And they go to the top of the tower. She's like, oh, I wish my man would kiss me in the top of the tower. More fantasy talk, right? And he's like, yeah, we can make that happen. He kisses her, which I thought was sweet. However, I also believe that he is aware of the cameras. I said that in one of my other videos. I believe he's aware of the cameras, and it would be a nice shot to have on TV. I don't believe he wanted to play into her fantasies. I think it is how this going to look on TV. Okay? So then we meet Brittany and Will again, and this time it's not so happy. They had a nice date or two, and then they're not happy again right before they leave the honeymoon. And she's upset about being rejected again. I guess they tried to get back on the intimacy train and things did not work out so well. And so he's sitting there in his little pink lacy shirt. She likes pink, I guess. He tried. I don't know about the lacy part. Pink is cool, guys. Y'all can wear pink, but the lacy pink, I wasn't feeling it. She's feeling rejected again by Will. They don't show the conversation too much of how that went down. Will admits that he has bad delivery on the topic. Color me not surprised. He's emotionless and flat. He doesn't let you get into his head because then he can't be the smartest person in the room, right? So, my thing is, like, y'all smashed, on the honeymoon straight out the gate. Yes, y'all had a snafu as far as, wearing protection, not wearing protection, that jarring y'all. But Will, take some control of the situation. Like, do you even like her, right? Do you even like her? Okay, y'all messed up, okay? Yes, it only takes one time. So if she did get preggers on that one time, it's already done. If she's not, just take precautions. Like, take some control. And if you like her, at least, y'all are married. Yeah, y'all strangers, but at least take some control and take some initiative. Backing all the way up and using that, and like, it doesn't work. People aren't just flat. People, are this. He irks my soul. But Brittany, also, I want you to work on being secure in yourself. I understand about getting rejected. You want it to be a certain way now that this is your husband, and rejection should be off the table. Even if you did know him and and you guys were together in a traditional sense, sometimes rejection happens in a relationship. Maybe you don't want to do it that night, or maybe you have stress for a couple of weeks and it happens. So I need you to work on that security piece now that you're married. And it's a shame that you're doing it in this setting with a little bit of experience, but if not even so much the experience, but you need to work on how you feel about you, right? And work on how you feel about you. Will says he can wait. That's what he said. He said he can wait. It's not a big deal to him, but Will is a big deal to her. All right? And give her some reassurance, okay? You're saying you don't care, but apparently she does. So talk in that realm and what the plan is moving forward. But child, he wants to be in control, whatever. And Brittany, get it together. Show him that you are not a little girl, because giving little girl energy. He's used to having women. And here's the thing. Will ain't the dude that had a problem on the outside world getting girls. I see his look. He's got muscles. He's got that light skin and just got that je ne sais quoi, to him. He does have a swagger, but he's going to come out as a nice guy and someone he can talk to, or it's easy for him to carry conversations. So then, married at first sight, they go ahead and they move in together. They get the new places and stuff. One of the things that they're also going to do is go to do those home visits. So with the home visit, they go to Brittany's house, and she is excited, or tells us she's excited about Will coming to her house, but she really stresses, I've never brought a man to my home, and it's such a big deal. And, because she was so young in purchasing the home at the time of filming, she's 29 years old. I'm not sure how long she's lived in her home. She's a strategic global HR partner. She wants him to be excited about coming to her house. And, this ain't going to go well because Will don't get excited. He doesn't show any emotion at all. So I don't know what she's expecting. When they got to the apartment, they're kind of like, let's leave Panama where Panama is, because it was such a horrible experience. And so now she's like, okay, now this isn't Panama, this is my home, and maybe it's going to be a different tone than how the honeymoon was, right? And so she shows off her house, and there was one little part where, she's showing the home. She's like, there's a bathroom here. You can open up the door. And he's like, yeah, you can open up whatever door you want. Like, the way he responds wasn't like, yes, it's a house. I've heard some commentary. Yes, it's a house. Why should he's a grown man. He shouldn't get excited, and he shouldn't have to reaffirm her. But at the same time, he's just so, okay, great. Open the door. Even if he just opened the door and didn't say anything and just looked and said, nice. I think that would have, been good enough, but maybe not, because she wants things or him to respond in a certain way. And then she's gathering her things, and, he got to give her commentary about, how much stuff she's going to bring. Like, she's a girl. She's a girl that, the hair, the nails, she's probably a girly girl. There's no, I can understand there's no indicator of his thoughts and his feelings. That's just what it is. And I think that if you can read body language, if you can read their eyes or just the words that they say, it can put a lot of those things to bed. But I think low key he gets a kick out of, keeping people guessing because he's so intelligent. I honestly think that. But honestly, I don't think that Brittany is the type of woman, or, the level of what he thinks beauty is it. Low key, and let me see how I try to frame this in ChatGPT. In my opinion, I had to go to ChatGPT and see how I wanted to frame this. So, in my opinion, without cursing, I think Will gives F-boy energy. That's just what it is for me. That's my opinion. I ain't gonna keep saying it's my opinion. He a F boy. It's just like there's something about him. That's what I discern. And I don't want to call him an F boy. So ChatGPT says he's enthusiastic of emotional confusion. Where is the lie in that? Where's the lie in that in what we've seen from him so far? She's emotionally confused and he's not unconfusing her with how he presents himself. So he's enthusiastic of emotional confusion. And they give us a scene where they're FaceTiming and, she's asking him questions, right? Like, how was work? Good. What'd you eat? Yeah, steak. Were you social? And it's like these short answers. And she's like, oh my God, you look so good. I like how the tattoo was popping. And oh, you look so good. And he's acting like he's so shy about getting all of these compliments. And she's giving all these compliments. And there's nothing wrong getting your spouse compliments if they're away, especially if you're a newlywed. But I feel like it annoys him a little bit. He's doing his due diligence. But what we learned from Brittany is, I guess, that they have resolved their intimacy issues. They getting back to the bed. So I guess he figured out you can use condoms. So you're having sex with him. That's what you wanted. We're glad for you. But you better watch that, because sex is easy for him. Because why? He is an enthusiastic of emotional confusion. He gonna sleep with you today, but don't give you anything in your emotions. It's satisfying for now, but he's enthusiastic of emotional confusion. So as I finish up talking about these two, he comes home from his work trip. He seems to be glad to be home with her. They embrace. She's on the couch. She's got his dinner already ready for him. Okay, she trying to do wife things. Make sure my man's stuff is ready. He ain't got to do nothing. You meet him at home with the meal. That's all right, girl. Now in his confessional, he says, things are progressing with Brittany. Things feel simple. They feel right and all of that. And I'm like, what really changed? Again, Will is here and he knows that the cameras are there and he doesn't want a bad edit. He done seen this show before. Let's be very for real. He's an enthusiastic of emotional confusion. An F-boy. All right. So the next couple I want to talk about is Pat and Rhonda, our older OG couple. I don't know if y'all got offended by the AARP one, but whatever. They are old. These are non-traditional contestants for this show. I'm going to continue with my thing, the AARP couple, okay? 63 and 59, y'all AARP eligible, okay? Nothing wrong with it. Shoot, let me get a little AARP discount. So before they leave the honeymoon, one of the chats that they have, Rhonda wants to bring up to Pat, and not just to Brittany, has her concerns about him being in a relationship 6 months ago, prior to them getting married and prior to entering the experiment. She says she's not judging, but she really judging. And it's kind of like she's questioning if his, intentions are authentic. It's a toss-up with these shows, and, is your intentions authentic? Are you ready to be here, not having, been in a relationship since, 2020? Are you ready to be here since, you married a hobo back in the day and had 4 babies with him? Are you ready to be in a relationship because your second marriage lasted for 18 months? And we're going to get into that and her insecurities behind that. So did you sit on a lady couch before you got here, but you worried about him, living his life after a 30-year marriage and within a 3.5-year relationship? That should tell you that he sticks around, more than the 18 months that you were with your last husband. Then she proceeds to tell Pat that she feels smothered because they've been together 24/7 because they're on their honeymoon. You don't know him. You signed up for Married at First Sight for companionship. But I guess with older people, they are set in their ways, and companionship to them may not be what it is to the younger folk about companionship, because they have a set routine. They have certain things and certain ways and certain times they would like to do things. So she says she needs space to be on her own. He seems fine with that. Rhonda's vibe to me is she's short and she's controlling, and her slip is beginning to show. What I'm, not feeling about Rhonda is she seems to like to run away and really hone in on Pat's weaknesses, but doesn't have a she's not good at holding the mirror up to herself and being vulnerable in that way. So, Pat, come on, Pat, give her back something. You just sitting there like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Stop being a yes man and say your piece. Okay, Pat? Rhonda also voices her reservations about cohabitation. She got a lot of reservations becoming on Married at First Sight. Like, girl, so you didn't think that you were going to live with somebody, you have your house and you don't know what you're going to get and how that's going to work for you. You didn't think about the various scenarios in your head. Did you share that with the experts, producers, that you had cohabitation issues? Did they ask you about things I would want to know? We learned that Pat hasn't lived with anybody for the last 7 years, and Rhonda ain't lived with nobody in 25 years. And then she re-emphasizes how much she needs her space. So they go to the home visit. Pat lives with his mom, so they don't go over there in these episodes, but they're going over to Rhonda's house. She's like telling the story of how she got her house and how much it means to her and all of these things. Pat's really aware of just listening, try to, please her and her concerns and try to let her be the driver of this, shared experience. And he is very, adamant of making it about her. They go around the house, she shows up her home. He's very impressed with her home. She got a closet filled to the brim of stuff. I'm like, girl, do you even know what you be having? Like, whoo, you got a lot of stuff. But with her having a lot of stuff, I can see that, there's no space for anybody else to come in. And then when that's brought up about moving in, she's like, hold up, Smooth. She ain't so sure about if she's gonna allow her husband to come live with her, because to me, if she's had her home for 25 years and she's just talked about so much how much this house means to her, I'm pretty sure she's not gonna move. So she wants the Dr. Pepper special, meaning they live at two different places and they come together from time to time. But I'm pretty sure that's not what Pat wants. And apparently for him bringing it up, he wants to live with his wife. Not that he's trying to mooch off of her, but she owns her home. It's something near and dear to her. So why would he then try to pull her out and have her sell her home to get themselves, a mutual spot? And so Dr. Pia is going to be, conducting the home visit for Pat and Rhonda. I feel like in the meeting she comes off very high and mighty, self-righteous. So she's, saying all the things that, are, wrong with her, and why she's so guarded and the need to protect herself. She's talking about all of those things. And, and she's also saying how much he talks about himself, but doesn't really feel invested in her. All the things, right? And she's like, she has a I gotcha moment. So, for example, she's telling Dr. Pia, for example, I told him about this fantastic award-winning bike club because he likes to go bike, and, she wants to tell him something, because he's newer to the area. And he's like, oh, I'll check out my friends. I've never heard that group and stuff like that. Check it out. And because he wasn't over enthusiastic and taking her suggestions as gospel, it's like, oh, he doesn't listen. And look at this big example of, how he just, doesn't, how he should respond to her when she gives information and how, she wants it to be. And, she does, like, girl, hush. You don't even take feedback that well at all. Like, he doesn't have to look at the group. He said he would, so assume that he would. Then in all of this, she claims she don't feel heard, blah, blah, blah. Girl, you bossy. That's just, it is what it is. He's already tired of her. His little front piece of hair is already sweated down to his nose, child, at this point. And to me, she's too much. And that's what she's crying about. Everybody says I'm too much. I'm this and my personality. Because they're right. And then Rhonda has the audacity to blame Pat's past, right, on how he's so freaking messed up. But you do the same thing. You use your past as a weapon to why you are that you are, but you get self-righteous by saying that Pat's past has messed him up. And we about to get into this next couple in a minute, and I beg the question in my notes. Are Megan and Rhonda the same person? One's 38, one is 63. Tell me what y'all think down in the comments. But Rhonda, after Dr. Pia's meeting and stuff, she all discombobulated how the chat went, right? But after all that, I guess they come back together. And then they end up at Rhonda's house because she want to do a little gardening, right? I think that's cute to do something like that, garden together. But she working him like he the pool boy. He is the gardener. She bossing him around. Pat tired. He put this here. That can go up there. Take those up there. She just barking. And he is trying to satisfy her by not really in her space talking about himself too much because he can't. Because she gonna have a problem with it, right? And Pat looking beat. He done drinking water because he tired of being in the Texas heat, and she got him lifting heavy planters. I think you should have gardened by yourself. Did you ask him, do he want to garden, or he just agreed to it? Does he like gardening? Do you even know? Okay. She does recircle the question about moving in, and how she was just like, no, I don't want to do that, and being so abrupt and rude about it. And she says, of course, she's protecting herself, and her house is such a sacred space, and which it is, but you're married now, and you decided to get married at first sight, and knowing that could be a possibility, unless you wanted the Dr. Pepper special. But, she says she's like this because, when she got married to her second husband and the kids moved in a week before the marriage, and then, when she tried to change up the house, he was like, barked at her, no, don't change this and don't change that, and this is my house, and when I want to do it, and that's why she says she the way she is. I get it, that was traumatic. Maybe you should have made better relationship choices or whatever. I mean, you already had 4 babies by a hobo, but maybe make better choices. But that doesn't give you the right to treat him how you were treated. And she does mention that, I don't want to treat you the way that I was treated, and I don't want to but you're doing that. You're saying I don't want to, but you're actively doing it. Ma'am, come to reality. Next couple we're going to talk about is Derek and Megan. So from the paddleboard episode, right? Basically, she mad because she feel ambushed because he was like, you don't talk enough. You don't tell me too much about yourself. You don't ask enough questions, and for whatever reason, she felt ambushed. That's her favorite word. She's ambushed. And he wanted to kind of make things better by just mentioning to her, hey, I want you to communicate a little bit more. I'm interested in you and learning about you. And you get frustrated because he want to talk to you and he wants you to open up so that y'all can have a great start to y'all relationship. Megan, girl, please get your head out your butt. But Derek feels bad about the way he made her feel. While on the honeymoon, they do talk also about having kids. He says that he would like to have 3. She wants 1. And when he says 3, she like, honey, that's a lot. I'm scared. And if we're going to have 3 kids, we got to get started right away. But it's a very awkward conversation that they're having with one another. Because she don't have the buy-in of having 3 children. So back from the honeymoon, and they all get moved in. One of the main topics on this couple is that I can't stand, and she is unwavering. She is unbending. It's her way or the highway. Let me drag her a little bit. She thinks she all that and has the right to just have things her way and not seeing anybody else's needs as, important to her. She is very condescending. She is very rude. Here are the issues I have with Megan. You want to bring your dog, which is fine, but now you're throwing this dog on your husband, right? He's trying to figure out how you live with your dog? Does his dog sleep in the bed? And he says he's had a pet before, but not in a long time. He really hasn't dated somebody with pets, but you're making him walk your dog. You expect him to walk your dog. You want the dog to sleep in the bed because that's what you typically do. And he's trying to give you a clue that's not what he wants. But do you even care? No. And then the dog sleep in the bed anyway, and he's sleeping on his side of the bed. Why can't you have your dog on your side of the bed? Why can't the dog be in a dog bed on your side of the bed on the floor somewhere? But no, it's got to be your way or the highway. I wouldn't want a dog sleeping with me either. That general every night sleeping in the bed? Absolutely not. And then the dog in there when y'all having sex? Ma'am. And then when he tries to voice his concern, you get mad. Like, and it's a whole thing, and you stomping off, going in the bathroom, and then saying, oh my God, and I don't complain when you leave the seat up in the bathroom. Like, what? Honey, get your life together. You are not, no, absolutely not. One of the things I didn't like, when she's at work, he can listen to electronic music, but then, when she comes home, it's going to be country. It's her way or the highway. Right? And then when they're home, all they're going to do is watch murder mysteries and whatever, else that she likes. There's nothing. She doesn't want to change the way that she has her life. She just wants a man there to walk her dog. That's what she gives me. She got that princess spirit. Like, I understand why you're 38 and alone. And if it wasn't for Married at First Sight, you're going to be Rhonda and alone. Then when they get their apartment, Derek is like, he wants to use natural products. He doesn't want to use a whole bunch of chemicals in the house. And good for you, right? Like, chemicals, they're on our counters. And then we cook and have food on top of our counters and, different things. And, he's like, vinegar. And she's like, I don't want my house to smell like vinegar. Like, ma'am, do you even clean? And Derek, he needs to speak up. He's Pat. He realizes that Megan is obsessively attached to that dog. And she insists passively that the dog is going to sleep in the bed while he's being passive about how he don't want it. Speak up. And you better treat a dog right. It's your dog. Ease him into it. If that's what you want, ease him into it. Talk about it. If he says he ain't feeling it, you need to accept that. Because your dog, you love the dog. People and these pets, y'all are weird. But y'all are way too attached to these dogs, because if the dog dies, you're going to bury him or cremate him. You're going to get a new dog, or you're not going to get a new dog. You will move on. You're going to miss Sparky. You're going to miss Rover, but you will get over it. And so then, Pastor Cal, he come over, for the home visit for them. Y'all sat there and basically playing in Pastor Cal face, acting like y'all are such a happy couple. Meanwhile, he's getting the notes. He knows what's really good, what's really going on. But y'all acting like, oh, we laugh together. Ha ha ha. But no, like, I feel like y'all are mad fake, and it's not doing any of you guys any benefit at all. It's not doing y'all doing yourselves a disservice, essentially. I feel like he made it seem like Derek could tighten up with no accountability or ownership on Megan. We're not going to talk about, how she's a blame shifter. Like, none of those things about Megan were pointed out. But run, Derek. Today should have been your decision day. Run. And Derek, because you're not speaking up in the way and where you need help, you are going to get what you get. And that's that on that. There's another scene where Derek goes meet with his friend, and the friend wants to know how it's going. And the friend brings up, kids, and reminds him how much he wants them, because his friend knows his friend, right? And, and he's like, if it's important to you, you need to be sure that, if you're going to have a decision day, like, she needs to be enthusiastic or, wanting to have, kids and being on the same page. And, according to Derek, he wants 3 kids. That's what he wants. And, he doesn't want to compromise on having a nice sized family, or they got to make sure they're on the same page. The only thing I'm going to tag Derek with in this is that, does she have to be enthusiastic as you? And what if you don't get 3 kids? Whether it's by the eggs that she has frozen, or y'all are up there in age and having issues conceiving naturally. Then what? Is that going to shatter your whole world and, your marriage? Should she agree to have more than one child? So they go to Megan's office, which they have these like storage spaces that are like tricked out as offices, and pretty nice. Go back in the episode and check it out. But the main thing is that, he comes to her about reiterating having children, her excitement. She's like, yeah, I want kids. And why are you asking me about this? We talked about it once. I told you I want kids. Why are you on me? But where I think that Derek messed up is bringing his friend, saying, me and my friend talked about it, and now I'm bringing you, my concerns. I think to give Megan a couple points on her side of the board, is that he should not have disclosed that he had a whole conversation with his friend about her. He should have just hit the points that, were important to him. And maybe, she would have received it better, but probably not, because she doesn't like criticism and feedback. But you're giving her more ammunition to say, see, and, and get beside the point. And she's really upset because, she's defensive. She says, I froze my eggs. Of course I want to be a mom. You don't think that I want to be a mom? I'm so offended. I don't think that it was the fact of, her not wanting to be a mom and him not thinking so. He just wants to truly know where you stand on having children. And to be fair, she says she only wanted one. He wants 3. So I need Derek to say, I want 3 kids. And y'all need to talk about that. But bringing the friend into it, don't do that. And he explains to her that, I'm afraid to ask you certain questions because you always flying off the handle about something. You don't react to me in a way that makes me want to talk to you. And I have to agree with him, right? So you're right when you're right and you're wrong when you're wrong. But Megan, she is a piece of work, and she's mad and she holds on to it. When somebody criticizes her, she just has a meltdown. So then the couples go to a group hangout there. One group, the guys come down to Derek and Megan's apartment, and those go to Jalen's apartment. And, it's pretty chill. Everybody seems to be having a good time. The guys are talking about, how things are going and talking about their struggles and, or what's going well. And the ladies do the same. Megan got a look on her face the whole time. They keep putting the camera on her. And the whole time. And so basically, when they come, everybody's going around the room and saying, how they're doing. She's just like, yeah, we're good. There's bumps. And she's real vague with it. She doesn't want to share. Her and Derek come back together. He wants to know how the girl party went. And she quickly was like, it was fine. Why do you want to know? Why do you want to, what? It's like she's short circuiting. Why do you want to know? There's nothing to tell, nothing to share, because I ain't sharing. And she's like, what you say? I told the truth. We got issues. We're arguing. We're still not over it. And, she got that dog, and she, with the dog, girl, put that dog down. Put your codependent dog down. Ooh, poor Zoe the dog. And so she's like, it's clearly you're frustrated. And he's like, no, I'm not. Dude, you are. And then she goes to the room, and she's like, and closes the door. And then she comes out and says, can you come in here? And they start to arguing like we can't hear outside the door. They frustrated, they stomp off, and that's what it is. She's hurt, that he thinks that she does not want kids, and that's not really what he's saying. He wants the civil chat, but she wants to fight. Jalen and Josh, there's really not too much to talk about them. They're doing good. They're in love. And when we have a boring couple, we don't have much to say, right? So they're in love. They talk about their childhoods and things like that. Josh reiterates, he didn't have a lot of money. They were, poor. He couldn't afford to do sports. So, he did a lot of discovering on his own. Meanwhile, opposite, Jalen and her mom and them and her dad, they had money. They living down to the Toys R Us. They having big parties at the house. They having clowns and stuff and all kinds of stuff, and quite different. But she said it bothers her a little bit. Her friends are in college, but she didn't finish school because she started making money in the fitness industry, and she felt really insecure about that. But opposite, Josh was like, school don't define me. Jalen's parents, we know they didn't show too much affection. Josh said his family was loving. They wanted to kiss him on the lips. They were loving and affectionate. And, I'll just say this, and, there's not much to say, because they're doing good for right now. Let's normalize, kissing our children in a loving way. Not everybody wants to say kissing is, sexually charging what it is, but if it's your child and, you're going to kiss them on the lips or whatever, that should be your choice. If especially it's a boy, father kissing son. I've seen that recently with a black father and son duo. It was just in passing on a podcast I was watching. And, society would say that, that's weird. But you know what? I had to step back from that. I say, you know what? They have a great relationship. This son really looks up to his father. And let's normalize loving our children so that when they get into relationships and things like that, they can love and know what love feels like and know how to extend love and know how to give affection. Y'all holding back your affection from your children produce Megans. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Another thing about J&J, Dr. Pia, she does this little test with them, about money, about, they bring up the prenup and things like that. She brings up, who, you guys willing to, share passwords. And for pretty much they're on the same page with it. Only thing I have concerns with on Josh's side of things is that now he doesn't feel like he needs a prenup because he's talked to his business partner and, said how great she is. And because she's really said, I don't need your money. And, now all of a sudden the business partner's cool with, not getting a post-nup for, their marriage. Like, honestly, I think it was weird that the business partner, would try to dictate what he needs to do in his marriage. And posting up for his own personal assets. So I don't even know if I believe that's the truth, because all of a sudden you're like, oh, she's a great girl. I've known her for 2 weeks. I don't need a posting up anymore. I don't know if I believe that too much. Another thing that might have been of concern is that, Jalen says she doesn't follow any of her exes and they don't follow her. But yet Josh says, I'm going to cease chatting with my exes because, we still follow each other. So are you still talking to her or no? And here's the thing. I didn't do a whole lot of online dating, a little bit. I don't have too many exes. I'm trying to understand. So because in my mindset, I had one theme when I was dating. I don't do remixes. If we break up, we broke up forever. We're not getting back together. There's no rounding the block. If we break up, we're not coming back because we were exes for a reason. There's a reason that we broke up, and circling the block ain't gonna really solve the problem, in my opinion. I don't remix. Hopefully I can. Last couple I want to talk about is Chad and Belinda. Like, they're my least favorite couple. Not that they're doing anything wrong. I just don't find them to be interesting. For Belinda and Will, I'm going to have to read off the paper because honestly I don't find them really interesting at all. So I'm going to just read off straight off the paper so I can be done. Belinda wants more romance and affection. They chat about what that means to one another. Then there's this scene where they're having dinner and, production's asking him, how do you feel about Belinda? And he's, taking his time and searching for an answer. And Chad seems to get short with production as they are guiding the scene in the conversation. He's frustrated and Belinda seems uncomfortable and may be annoyed with him and, and how he talks to production. He was a little short, but they're trying to guide a conversation and you're probably not cooperating, because I also think that he is the hard person in the work world. He can be, a bit hard, in my opinion. And she's watching him because I don't even know if she really likes him. Like, she wants romance and he is giving friendly vibes. He likes her a lot, but she wants the romance, especially when she didn't have it in her marriage at all. As, Jalen says, I didn't see my parents being affectionate towards one another. It really bothers Belinda that Chad was frustrated and disrespectful to production. He says sorry quickly to her. So that's good. He apologized while they, rehash what happened. Belinda says she doesn't get over things quickly, but is conflicted if she, about sharing her true feelings in fear of being resented. Was that the issue in her last marriage, which was loveless? So then, Chad, he makes a seafood boil for the family. They come to the shared apartment space where her daughter, her husband, and then their son, Jesse Jr., or Belinda's son, I should say, Jesse Jr., they had a crawfish boil, which looked good. I got corn. He had some okra in there. I love okra. So, all the things. And that thing, like, it cost a little bit of money because all that seafood and how big it was, that's not cheap. He got a coin to do it, so that sounds good to me because I love me some seafood up in there. I'd have been up there tearing and chowing down, okay? Belinda, she seems picky, like, oh, I gotta touch that. Ooh. And like, even when on the catamaran, she didn't want to jump in the water because she's not adventurous at all. Like, she's just stuck inside herself. She might be an introvert. She gives introvert energy. And she didn't really want to eat that crawfish, and that's okay, but it's because she's not as adventurous, right? We learned that Chad says to her, I love you. She shares that with Jalen, but she did not return it. She wants his moment to be special. We want the moment to be special. So, and then, Jalen and Belinda also talk about the post-nup thing, and, Belinda, gives them motherly advice of being concerned to, I was divorced, so, you need to be protected should you have kids. And she's like, Jalen's like, listen, I ain't trying to be a stay-at-home mom anyway. AKA, I ain't trying to be like you. I want love in my marriage, and I ain't going to stay home with my kids and be unhappy. And she's like, no matter what, I'm not staying home. But her mom's like, protect yourself. And she starts to think, maybe you're right, Mom. But you know what? I also think that Belinda needs to stay out of her daughter's business. And even on the catamaran, on the honeymoon, Josh wanted her to jump in. She's all afraid and stuff. And then, she eventually jumps into the ocean off the boat and have a good time. But, Belinda has concerns like, I'm not adventurous, and I put that on her. I don't want him, to push, her too far. And Chad's like, she'll be fine. Let her do her thing. Yeah, stay out your daughter's business. We got a stranger marriage over here. She got hers over there. Let her, as an adult, worry about her, and us worry about us. You're right when you're right, Chad. So at the end of the episode, where I'm going to talk about Belinda and Chad. So, of course, the guys and the girls, they had their meet up at the apartment. And then when Chad comes back, he's a little drunk. He's feeling nice. He comes back happy to see his wife. And, they're dancing. He's like, you want to dance? And she obliges. She danced with them. It was very cute. And then he's just like, you're such a beautiful lady. You're a beautiful lady. And then he was like, I love you. And then she's like, love you, in the most softest way. And my first thought was like, did you say it because he said it? You were on camera? Because the first time it was said to you was off camera, allegedly, and you're just saying it. I don't know if, Belinda have a full buy-in on Chad. I've heard commentary where maybe she doesn't like him like that. Maybe she is annoyed with him. Maybe she likes him as he's a nice guy. But, we don't know what her ex-husband, Jalen's daddy, looked like. And he was a ball player, so I'm pretty sure he's athletic. Probably a nice, guy. I'm assuming he's Hispanic too, so he has an exotic look. And, while Chad is nice, he's a bald white guy. He got money, but he's a bald white guy. And he's nice. He treats her nice. He gives her affection. But she's also wanting that princess romance as well because she's never had it. That she's looking for. She did mention that to him on the honeymoon. And I think she's right to take her time, but I don't think that she's being honest with herself or honest with Chad about where she's at. But we'll see. So this is the end of the video. I'm trying to reorg how I do these videos. So thank you so much for sticking around. If you like the content, and whether you don't like the comment, at least like it. Okay, like the video, put something down there in the comments, engage with me. Thank you so much for watching. Continue to grow with me. And until we meet again, we're going to get the next batch when we get the next batch. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.